some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah, hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
What? You were expecting Humphrey Bogart? No, it's just last man standing. Joe Dog is suffering from a blinding migraine, and as somebody that gets migraines about twice a year, I know exactly what that's like. Carl, no, it's not a stomach flu. It's a migraine tonight. I think the stomach bug was Thursday night, but you know, being Joe Dog, he might not be revealing all of the cards, so we just do not know. Other than it hurts him to look at his phone screen and chat. So these things that happen. But with me tonight, I've got Aunt Donna, I've got Chris, I've got the ever lovely John Scarborough, and we are just a couple of minutes absent.
John, I
of
love
the,
your
the
background.
lovely Dawn. Uh, she was here briefly. She is also not feeling up to snuff, but she's here in the chat.
Yep. Hello,
Um,
Dawn.
that'll do. I mean, we can't have your face on screen, but we can have you in the chat. I do not mind at all.
Yep.
Well,
That's a hole in the ground.
And it's a wet subject if it's not dry.
If you're really lucky, it's got oil in it.
everybody's
John, I love your background. Lee Majors and Santa and Mrs. Claus.
Hey, only thing it would be better was Pia Zadora and Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. And that's just better because it's funny as all get out.
Yep. I'm trying to think of
Dawn, you might want to let Carl check that out for you. Not posting that comment. The night Santa went crazy. Yeah, I'm a Weird Al fan. I know that one.
I think that was one of the movies they had scheduled in Scrooged with Bill Murray, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was called The Night the Reindeer Died, and I've got it as my background.
But I thought it was going to be one of the things on the schedule for Scrooged, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. But I remember
Oh,
seeing it in another film.
there we go. That's nice. Oh,
Terrorist
Fox
attack
might be
Santa's
coming
workshop.
down with something too, getting chills and just nauseous.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Uh,
was,
It's that time of year.
yeah.
mm, it is. Dawn is still, as I said, not fully well, but still. Yes,
and we
Scrooge.
had
It was a film trailer.
and we had a very warm early fall combined with a sudden drastic change in
No
temperatures in
kidding.
late fall.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow it's supposed to get up to like 64 degrees here
Yeah.
with no chance of rain. I'm going, I better go finish the carpentry and put the rest of the tin on the barbecue grill while I can and start putting power tools away for the winter.
Yeah.
They're talking here. It's going to warm up, and then we're going to get rain for the next.
Yeah. Tuesday the rain comes
Monday
in.
morning.
And
That's
temperatures
one
drop.
reason why I want to get some paint slapped on the lumber and get the last piece of paneling in place and get the last 6 pieces of tin.
Yeah,
Well, it's actually uh, galvanized steel. It's not tin. But get
there
those up.
there's an 81% chance of rain Monday and Tuesday. And Tuesday the low drops to 37 and then it's 27 and a high of 42 for Wednesday.
We've got to order some more heated water bowls for the cats. We've had one for several years. Well, we've got 2. We've had the first one we got for several years, and it finally, the heating element burned out in it. And Lindsay noticed and said, I'm not plugging that thing back in. It might start a fire.
Hmm.
So we got to get another one, which is just fine with me. I don't mind giving the cats warm water to drink outside when it's below freezing. We've
Yeah.
got little electric heated cat shelters scattered around the property so that they have a warm bed to lay on, the ones that want to stay outside. And the ones that want to stay inside, they generally gather either on the bed or near one of the electric fireplaces and just enjoy not being outside. I always enjoy not being outside, but there are things I have to do out there. Um,
It
And
actually,
before,
it actually warmed up today. Got kind of
Yeah.
nice.
yeah, I went out a couple of times. Took Lindsay shopping in the middle of the day. Um, she was off with the church ladies early this morning. I think it was a prayer meeting, and then we went shopping. And then when we got home, she had just a little bit of time to get ready to go out to a restaurant and then to the gift exchange with the same crowd. Um, and she said she was really impressed with the restaurant, except halfway through, while everybody was eating, the waitress was trying to hurry them out, bring them to go boxes and get them out of the restaurant. I'm going, well, maybe this time of year they just want to turn over the tables, get more people in that uh, more customers. Oh, Carl, I don't know. I do not envy you. Um, I'm
before I forget, hello to everyone in the chat: Foxy, Kitty, Thesis, Dawn, Carl.
Daniel.
Yes, Daniel's here too. One
Mm-hmm.
day we're going to have to get to know this guy. I mean, we see his name, he comments, and then
Yeah. No, Carl forgot there are also gutters on the back side of the garage. Until a neighbor came over and said, "You got a little problem back here."
it's not like Carl to forget the backside of anything.
Well, and it is a very wide garage, so you'd think he would have realized it.
He would have noticed. Yeah, I've got to once I get finished with the carpentry and get the tin up and the painting done, I have gutters and downspouts to put on the enclosure for the barbecue grill. I've got concrete blocks to move. The actual charcoal grill part of it is basically a stack of concrete blocks with a camping griddle on top of that. So I'm going to move it out as far as the tin goes so that it's still protected from the rain, but gives me more room around the cast iron stove. And I've got to finish putting the stovepipe together. They didn't come already assembled and welded. I've got to get out there and piece the stovepipes together, and that's not easy, but I think I figured out a way to do it. Just take some 7-inch diameter hose clamps, get one end of the stovepipe actually fitted together, put a vice grip on that, then take the hose clamps and a drill and go ahead and get it all closed. And I've got some high temperature caulk to seal smoke leaks and things like that. Once I get that done, I can build a fire out there. And I can actually season the stovetop on the cast iron stove. And I would be able to start cooking things where it's going to be warm enough with that fire in the stove to where I don't have to worry about face mask and goggles and insulated coveralls and stuff. I can just cook. I can't put walls up, and I can't put windows up. That will raise my property tax. I was informed last week that one of the things that raises someone's property tax around here is if the person that does the estimates of everybody's property tax, they drive around and look to see if you've got brand new windows in places you didn't have walls and windows before. If you have more windows, taxes go up.
For a long time in the United States and Germany, they got it from Germany. Background before the Civil War. The more rooms you had in your house, the higher your taxes. And they counted closets and pantries as rooms, which is why if you go into a lot of these old houses, you don't see closets and pantries. You just see big rooms with tall ceilings. And the reason for that was they would then bring in furniture like
Shift
the Germans
robes.
shrunks, Americans called wardrobes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they would have all these huge china cabinets and stuff like that.
Because they weren't taxed. So there's another thing in England. They decided they were going to uh, judge a household's tax rate by how many windows the house had, which is why when you drive around or walk around, either way, and you see some of these old buildings, there are a lot of bricked up windows. It was people trying to lower their window tax.
Was that nut?
Okay, Dawn. Yeah, you're probably right, but yeah, I'll just get a little clip of Trey waving the more you know sign and just play that just like we do all the cartoon clips and rim shots and things. Uh, but I did notice somebody driving around in an official looking pickup truck stop at the end of my driveway and look at my little enclosure for the barbecue grill, and it's like, huh, roof, posts, no windows. Damn, foiled again. I'm going, that ain't room. It's just a roof. Now, I am going to have to build Lindsay a back porch, but it can only be without having to pay for a building permit. It can only be 10 foot by 10 foot. And I'm thinking strongly it's going to be 10 foot by 9 foot to make sure when the sumbitch comes out with his tape measure, it's still small enough.
You know
Build
how
two
they,
of them.
huh?
Build two of them.
Basically, it's
Build a 10 foot by 10 foot, then another 10 foot by 10 foot, and put them together. When he comes out to measure them, go, okay, this one stops here, that one stops.
You know how they get around that around here? Build it in one day.
I can do that.
Get your structure completely finished in one day. I don't know what, and then they go, oh, you've already got it up. Okay.
Well, what I was thinking about doing was just I'll have to dig up some forsythia and things like that along that wall of the house. It's got no windows on that wall, and just build a deck and then enclose 10 foot by 9.5 feet maybe, and then put wooden steps down, because there's no way I'm going to take an air chisel or something and break those brick steps up that came with the house. That's too much like work. But and then I planned to put windows in the damn thing, which is, one of the reasons why I want to go January and fill out the forms to reduce my property tax by half by having me exempt from paying the county school tax. How I solved that? Tell her, okay, I'll build it, but don't let you pay the tax on it. No, that won't work here.
Witzman dude's going to get in trouble again.
I think he already did. You noticed he's already in trouble. But
what can I say? I married the ornery brother.
Hey, that won't work around here because I am the owner of the wallet.
Donna,
Chris.
You wouldn't have been happy with the plain, boring brother.
Not as dumb as he. I mean, not the way he.
Not the way he treats women, no.
Our, our term for today, boys and girls, is Freudian slip.
I took another $40 off our taxes when Donna turned a certain age. Don't know if I'll get another 40 off now that I've reached that age.
I thought it was
Uh,
50.
No, he's saving that extra $20 for both of those to buy more liquor at the grocery store, um, or more cigars. I mean,
Oh, let's not talk about that.
oh yeah.
Aunt Donna, Aunt Donna, woof. It was a good sale. It was a good sale.
Now, I don't think my wife ever watches this show, so I might be able to get away with saying this, but no, I better not. I better not.
Better
She
not.
might. She might. I mean, she has before. She's even popped up in the chat before. So let's just say Thesis cost me some money tonight.
Mhm.
Not sorry.
You know exactly why, and you know exactly what.
And I'm not sorry.
That was a beautiful thing.
It really was.
Indeed.
No,
I wanted one before, but I couldn't justify spending the money for me.
on the plus side, I saved about $500 buying these cigars. On the other side, I spent over $250. They're just like any other woman, can't resist a good sale if it's the right thing.
Hey, you've got your guanine, your thiamine, your cytosine, and you're on sale. It's built into our genetic code.
Oh, let's not forget the infamous clearance word.
Oh, I pointed out some stuff at the grocery store that was on clearance to my wife, and I'm going, baby, you like that, don't you? Maybe I should get everything that's on the shelf because they're not going to have it again.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. Really, I don't know why I would make fun of anybody else for impulse purchases when that's pretty much the only reason I ever buy anything. Oh, Daniel, buy me that. Who said that? Voices in the back of my head get me in so much trouble. I do wish they'd let me start writing again. I was working on a story. It was going along fine. I decided that, hey, this would be a great time to follow the classic formula for this kind of story. And the characters immediately stopped talking to me. I've only gotten like 4 paragraphs in the last 2 years. I can't force it. If they're not going to talk to me, I can't take dictation.
Nope.
I don't know. I put this in Stupid O'Clock earlier today. I don't know if y'all saw it. You can get a copy of your favorite story lithographed on a blanket.
Yep.
You can wrap yourself up in your favorite story.
Okay, so do I pick Dune or Lord of the Rings?
Uh, Samuel L. Jackson's "Go to Fuck to Sleep."
I do believe I have grandchildren. I'd love to get that for, but their parents would probably not approve.
Why should you listen to the parents? That's what grandparents and aunts and uncles are for.
Well, yeah, you take them into your home for a few days. You stuff them with chocolate. You spoil them rotten. Then you send them home, hyperactive and with the zoomies. No, and Thanksgiving, we had Lindsay's oldest girl, Michelle, and her son, Jamie, down for Thanksgiving holiday. They got here Thanksgiving Day, but it was after I had to leave to go meet up with my family. Lindsay couldn't go because they were still on the road from Virginia, and she didn't want to leave them sitting in the driveway for hours while she was with me and my mom and brother and sister and brothers and sister. I don't know why I didn't unconsciously include my foster brother along with my biological brother, and I only use those terms just for clarification. That's not the way I think of them. They're both my brothers. But it was a very small family get together this time. Not all of us were able to be there. My sister's husband was not able to. He was still working, so he couldn't go. Some of my brother Timmy's stepkids could not show up. Some his grandchildren could not show up. And there's a brand new baby in that family. So Lindsay's going, hey, we should think of something to buy the baby now. And I'm thinking practically about what we need in the house instead. I go, well, didn't you say we need trash bags? And she looked at me and I go, not for the baby, for the house. Oh, good Lord. I am not looking forward to this year's taxes. Because I knew the stock market was going to go haywire because it's an election year and the stock market always goes haywire in an election year. And because no one at work told me it would be almost 6 months after I retire before I got any of my pension checks. I pulled money out of the 401k, a not inconsiderable chunk. And when things started working out more dependably with the pension checks and the Social Security, which arrived at almost the same time, I go, okay, I've got this. I've got a high interest savings account. I've got a money market savings account. It's a joint account that Lindsay can get to and pull out money as she needs it for her bills as well, because she has subscriptions and she has credit cards that I'm not allowed to pay anything on. If I try and log in, they won't recognize me. I'd have to use her login, and then there's no access to my bank account to pay bills. So here we go. Joint savings account. Supposed to be high interest, but it ain't. Um, my high interest savings account, I got almost $300 in interest last month. The joint savings account got 97 cents. One of these things is not like the other. Going to have to look at one of Lindsay's credit cards and see if they've got one of those good high interest savings accounts and let me throw money in that. She's worried about if any accident happens to me, how she's going to get to any of my financial stuff so that it's not denied to her. And power of attorney only works as long as someone is alive. The person with power of attorney loses all of that power in Georgia when the person that signs over power of attorney is no longer with us. It's weird. I thought it would be exactly the opposite, but I read up on it. That's the way the wordage goes, and I've paid enough attention to legalese to where I'm going, that ain't right, but that's the way they wrote it.
Yeah.
Now
That's,
there's
that's where you need a goodwill in place.
yeah, exactly. And I've looked into that. They want me to do a complete inventory of everything I own.
We didn't have to.
Well, a lot of people have said they don't have to, but that's what this place wants.
Go
And
someplace else.
it's the same lawyer that handled my dad's will and my mom's. Even though mom's still with us, she has filled out the forms already. I'd like to just go and say, look, let's do something simple. Anything happens to me, my wife gets access to everything without let or hindrance. It all goes to her unless we go at the same time. And then there's going to have to be an executor of some kind to make sure the kids don't get shortchanged or the bank doesn't get everything. And then,
Yeah, I think you're going to have to name an executor in your will. We did. And you're going to have to name who gets your shoot for your writing, for your books.
yes, I've already made arrangements for a literary executor, although there has been no paperwork filed yet. I know who I want to do it, and they have agreed, and I trust them. So Lindsay's not going to get shafted, but they're, don't have the faintest idea what paperwork I need to file to get that street legal.
We named executor. We named power of attorney. Then there was the medical power of attorney, which went to someone else. Because I'm not going to make my niece decide whether or not to pull the plug. But my best friend, who's a CNA, not going to like doing it, but she's going to. We know she's going to be strong enough to, if it comes to that, do it.
Well, I've always said that I don't want to be in a vegetative state, just staring into space and on all kinds of different drugs. But I'm afraid somebody will take my liquor bottle away and turn off my damn computer. Not much difference for me.
I was just looking at one of the news feeds here in town about that fire on Lookout Mountain.
Oh,
And apparently, I'm not sure, but apparently it's either running along the side of the incline railroad
Yeah.
down into St. Elmo, or it's the railroad ties are on fire. We're not sure which.
They were evacuating St. Elmo earlier than a post.
They've
I saw.
evacuated about 30 homes and several
Mm.
businesses in St. Elmo.
Oh, so that's St. Elmo's fire?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And young Thesis here is going, what?
Oh,
No,
no, I completely get that one.
Okay.
Yep. The legend, the movie, and now the local fire.
Oh, yes. I bet Thesis hasn't heard the Brian Eno song by that title.
Look what Don said.
I'm in emotion.
Yeah. That's actually the theme song from the movie by John Parr.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. One of
No,
my
Thesis
favorite
said-
singers.
St. Elmo's Fire, Man in Motion.
Mhm.
There's also a brush fire in Calhoun.
Lovely. Georgia or Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Okay.
That's still not good. Before I forget, Thesis, if you've never heard of Brian Eno, you probably would enjoy about every other song on every other album.
Well, sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, he worked.
He had a band called King Crimson.
Well,
Yeah.
no, Brian was in
Well,
what's the
Robert
one with
Fripp is actually King Crimson, but
Yeah,
Brian Eno performed with him on several.
Brian Eno is just one of Robert Fripp's favorite people to work with. They've done albums together. Brian has done solo albums.
Roxy, he was a member of
Roxy Music, thank you.
And see, he has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of Roxy.
Let's see. Roxy Music had Brian Ferry in it as well, didn't it?
That's the reason why Eno quit working with them. He could not get along with Brian Ferry.
Yeah.
Evidently, there was a bit of a
Power struggle?
no. It was more of a clash of
Personalities and taste?
creativity.
That too.
Brian Ferry wanted to take the band in one direction. Brian Eno is going, well, that's probably a good idea, but I don't really want to do that, so count me out.
Yeah.
Brian Eno went on to become a big producer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the bands that he's produced,
Mm-hmm.
U2,
Yeah.
Coldplay,
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel, let's see, Grace Jones, and a few others that you might not recognize.
If I'm not mistaken, Brian Ferry was on the 9.5 Weeks soundtrack with the song Slave to Love, if I remember correctly.
I don't recollect that, but you're probably right. I've learned a long time ago not to disagree with Chris on musical matters because his memory is much more agile than mine. I am an extreme Brian Eno and Robert Fripp fan.
But I don't
I've
think
got
he really did
lots
anything
of the
afterwards.
albums, but
Brian Ferry, that is.
Oh, Roxy Music, for those of you who don't know, they had an album called Aphelion, and the title song Aphelion is incredibly famous. It's been in every commercial that's ever been produced. So,
and they had a really big hit with one called "Love Is a Drug," didn't they? Not?
Love Is a Drug.
And I think they did a cover of that for the movie Sucker Punch.
Let me see. Because strangely enough, I just happen to have that on my Windows Media Player.
I believe it was a cover, though. I don't think it was.
Yeah, it was. I'm just trying to remember who covered it.
I don't know if Carla Gugino actually sang it or not. She did in the movie.
Let me see. Loves
Well,
the drug. It was covered by Carla Gugino and Oscar Isaac.
Yep.
They're the ones that sang it.
Yep.
Isn't that
okay.
funny? And it was written by Brian Ferry
Yeah.
and Andrew McKay. So.
Yeah.
Well, when I started buying Brian Eno albums, it was half because, hey, Robert Fripp would be showing up every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And his solo stuff, I started off, it was no different than Thomas Dolby.
Mm-hmm.
It started off, I only like one or two songs on this album. And then the more I played it, the more songs made it up into, hey, I actually like this. Until it was basically, for me, drop the needle on side A, drop the needle on side B, I love it all.
Mm-hmm.
But very, very complex fellow, a philosopher of sorts. And he just, there's a whole series of ambient music that he does. There's like music for airports or something to that effect. And it's basically, if you imagine being in a large open area and they have much better than elevator music piped in, but you can just barely hear it. Ambient is one of those code terms for
Keep moving or you'll fall
almost
asleep.
almost beneath your conscious level of interacting with.
Yeah. And yes, it is December 7th, 2024, not 1941, but yes, a day that will live in infamy.
I saw an
Mm,
interesting piece of trivia today. There were several battleships that were sunk at Pearl Harbor. Of course, everybody knows the Arizona. They recovered most of them, but there was another one that's still there at Pearl Harbor called the Utah.
Mm-hmm.
The Utah wasn't a battleship anymore at the time.
Yeah.
They'd taken everything off the battleship that made it a battleship and covered it in railroad ties
Mm-hmm.
and used it as a target for bomb practice for the carrier pilots to go out and bomb ships.
Mm-hmm.
And they would drop these concrete bombs on the ship, and the railroad ties stacked on deck would absorb the hit.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a crew, if I remember correctly, about 75 people just go out and steam this ship around and let bomber pilots drop concrete on them.
Yeah.
One of the crewmen on board, his wife had given birth to twin daughters, and one of them died.
Mm.
And they had the baby cremated, and he had the little urn with the ashes in it.
Mm-hmm.
He had it on the ship in his ship's locker. And the next time they went out for gunnery practice, he was going to have a chaplain go out with them
Mm-hmm.
and do a burial at sea
Mm-hmm.
from the ship. And the ship got hit and it got torpedoed in the side and it's capsized. And the bad part is when it capsized, all of those railroad ties that were on the deck shifted and blocked doors. So a lot of people couldn't get out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it capsized. I think there was, I can't remember, 67 or 76 people died when the ship capsized, which was almost the entire crew. And this poor guy couldn't get to his locker to get that urn out of his locker before it capsized. So even though most of the people on board were Navy, technically there's one baby girl on board the Utah when it capsized. That's just
Mm.
one more thing to know.
Random factoids with John.
You know, it's kind of funny. My grandpa was there and he didn't really talk about it because he was there. He was in the Navy Reserve and he was there working on a destroyer, putting in some new equipment. And his job was running electrical lines for new equipment on these ships. And he had gotten started in 38, I think it was, doing this with the British. They would take these old World War I destroyers and refit them and give them to the British. And then somewhere down the line, he wound up doing it for a couple of destroyers for the Navy, just other destroyers. And he had been working on a destroyer called the Shaw. And he had just gotten done with what he was doing with the Shaw. He had gotten the wiring done. They had put a sonar bubble on the bottom of the Shaw's hull and had to scrape all the paint and everything off to weld this thing in place and run the wiring and stuff. And it was still sitting in the dry dock. They were going to start painting it Monday. And the Japanese dropped a bomb through the front of the thing, blew it in half, and then it sank in the floating dry dock. That was the ship and my grandpa was at a hotel in Honolulu. He was going to be shipped out the next morning, Sunday morning, to go back to the States because he was done. And he said, and it's kind of funny because you see it in a few of the movies about Pearl Harbor, if you ever watch them. You start hearing all this shooting, and he goes out there and he looks, and from where he's looking toward Pearl Harbor, he's looking west early in the morning. So the sun's behind him. He's seeing all these planes flying around. He knows they're not Navy planes because he's familiar with Navy planes. He's looking at them and goes, "What the hell is the Army doing making all this damn noise on a Sunday morning?" Because he thought for sure it was the Army messing with the Navy.
Not quite.
Turns out it was the Navy, just not the U.S. Yeah.
Oh, I heard of another guy that was a cook on one of the ships. And when everything started popping off, he ran to one of the machine guns and started trying to shoot down Zeros. I don't think he got hurt, but there's no way. I just do not remember the rest of the story. I mean, I'm not Paul Harvey, so
there was a young cook named they either call him Doria or Doris. There's a confusion about his name. Doris Miller. Young black, he was a cook's assistant on board one of the battleships. And everything started shooting, so he runs out and he mans a machine gun on deck. He was not rated for a machine gun, but so he jumps on a 50 caliber machine gun and starts shooting at airplanes. He says, "I just pulled the trigger and it worked fine."
that's what it's supposed to do.
And then they took a bomb hit, or they didn't take a bomb hit. The bomb hit the battleship next to I think Tennessee. Yeah, I think he was on West Virginia. And the bomb hit the turret on the Tennessee. I think it hit a gun barrel, actually. And exploded. And the shrapnel from this bomb explosion peppered their bridge on board their ship. And their captain took a shrapnel hit from that bomb, took a bomb fragment from the bomb. And they needed some help to get him off the bridge. So he ran up there and helped get the captain off the bridge down to the medical bay at the time, which they wound up, I think it's ship. West Virginia sank, but whoever the engineer was, when he realized the ship was sinking and was starting to capsize to one side, counter flooded the entire opposite side of the ship.
Yeah.
And saved the ship. It sank flat and didn't actually go completely underwater. So,
yeah.
and then Dory Miller, because of what he did, they put him. He was one of the several people who got put in for the Congressional Medal of Honor. Well, there were some congressmen said, "There's no way in hell we're giving a black man a Congressional Medal of Honor, or a Medal of Honor." And they told Chester Nimitz. Chester Nimitz found out about it. Said, "Ain't no way in hell we're giving a black man Medal of Honor." He gave Dory Miller the highest award that he could award as the Commander-in-Chief of Navy in the Pacific, which was the Navy Cross. That's the only thing higher than the Navy Cross in the Navy is the Medal of Honor. Not only did he give him a Navy Cross, but he had every officer in Pearl Harbor at the time show up for the awards ceremony on board what was at the time the flagship was the USS Enterprise. And if you they've got all these pictures, and he did this on purpose just to show Congress, you don't tell me what to do with my sailors.
Yeah.
And it was one of it made Life magazine and was just all over. It was one of those big propaganda pieces about,
It went all over the world with Life magazine.
Just to piss off that one senator. Or congressman, senator, whatever the hell the guy was.
Yeah, everybody knows who the cook was, but nobody knows who that senator is anymore.
Well, it had the intended results then.
And then I can't remember who it was. It turns out that Japanese depth charges that they use to drop on submarines can only go so deep and then explode. They have a maximum depth they can go.
Yeah.
Crush depth. Turns out American submarines could go deeper than that. So every time they got depth charge, they just go deep enough where the depth charges couldn't get to them. All right. And some idiot I can't remember if he was a senator or a congressman. He was on the Armed Services Committee. He heard about that.
You were going to say that.
And told it to a bunch of reporters.
So basically endangered the rest of the fleet.
And a few months later, the Japanese came out with a new depth charge specifically designed to go deeper. And the Navy probably lost 5 or 6 submarines because of this. Sorry, bastard. So,
did they shoot him?
They should have. Give him a rifle. Put him on Okinawa.
Give him a rifle. Put him on the the west coast of Japan. Here's your life raft. Here's your rifle.
Interesting.
Sorry, we don't have any bullets.
Interesting piece of trivia. Every Purple Heart that has been issued in the United States military since World War II, came from the same lot that they built over 3 years between 42 and 45. The U.S. military ordered 1.5 million Purple Hearts just for the impending invasion of Japan. They thought we were going to take so many wounded and casualties that they were going to need 1.5 million Purple Hearts. And of course, we dropped the atomic bombs and didn't have to go into Japan. So they haven't had to make any Purple Hearts since then.
Yeah, because our military hadn't been big enough. Luckily, we've stayed out enough.
Actually, you'd be surprised how quick you get a Purple Heart. It's just nobody really wants to try out for that award.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't had as many. It's not really a fun award to get.
Well, you had Korea. There were a bunch of them issued. Vietnam, there were a bunch of them issued.
But
Desert Shield, Desert Storm, War on Terror, the whole, we've been handing them out. We probably hand out one a day since World War II.
Well, I mean, people keep getting shot at.
But here's the thing.
And sometimes hit.
More on long range attacks so they don't endanger the soldiers as much
Right.
and as often
We're
as they
smarter.
did. Yes.
Send in the robot.
Well, you still
You can't avoid it completely, but you can
you still
reduce the
can't
amount.
get away from boots on the ground being
Yeah,
very,
eventually-
very effective.
Yeah, eventually you have to take the real estate.
Yeah.
And you can't do that with a bomb.
Yeah.
Well, you can eliminate the real
But-
estate, but you
but
can't
it-
take it.
But if you take away most of their offensive capabilities, mean your foes, then you're, in theory,
have-
your soldiers should face less resistance.
We have better body armor and helmets. We have better intelligence, so we know where the bad guys are and don't go walking into them. And we have
usually training.
better weapons that
Mhm.
infantry can carry just for
Mhm.
taking out things that would have killed 100 people back in the day.
Yeah.
And better infantry vehicles.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
don't know.
mean,
World War II-
there's
Desert
some
Sand
that really are absolute classics that modern designs are not superior to, but
There's
Yeah.
always you're always going to need a Jeep. You know, that's
mhm.
no
Well,
matter
the
how
thing is-
much armor you put on something else, you're still going to have to put a lightweight gun platform out there. You know,
Mhm.
If you're in a desert
APCs.
environment, the sand is going to mess with the rotors and the moving parts if they're not shielded correctly enough. All the sand in the filters and all the wear, because you've got those rotors spinning at such a high rate of
Yep.
speed, and all those particles just hitting them deteriorates them.
And really, I mean, people underestimate the threat of camel spiders.
Yeah.
interesting thing: the Jeeps, the old Willis Jeeps,
Mm-hmm.
didn't have paper air filters. They had oil air filters. It was this big box,
Yes.
pour oil in it, and as the air went through, the oil would grab the dirt out of the air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And of course, as time progressed, they went to paper air filters. You know, and the funny thing is, we wound up in Iraq, and guess what made a comeback?
Oil filters.
Oil
Oil air filters.
Um,
It's like, somebody didn't think this one through.
when I was farming, we had 3 different tractors, 2 diesel, 1 gasoline. All of them had the oil air filters. So every day you had to go out there, take the reservoir loose, drain the oil, pull the physical filter out, clean it off, rinse it in kerosene, put it back on, put the oil reservoir back on, put a quart of oil in it, and then you could go out and stir up as much dust as you wanted to.
I thought this was rather odd. The ones they made for the Humvee as an add-on part,
Mm-hmm.
You took the bell off of the air intake and mounted there, and had a block or a wing nut on top. You'd open it up. Portion. They wanted us to use hydraulic fluid.
That's more expensive, but it would
I would have thought so.
work.
I would have thought so too. They didn't want us using oil. I don't know why, but they wanted
You're
us
in the Middle East, you just take over an oil well.
And I think it was because it was hydraulic fluid is red in the military.
Yeah.
It's easier to see if your oil level's low, and it's easier to see if there's crap in it. So I think that was the main reason.
Well, yeah. Hydraulic fluid on a farm tractor is usually red as well. But basically, you never see that unless somehow or another,
unless you screwed up, you're not supposed to. See that.
unless you screwed up and managed to cause a leak in a high pressure hydraulic line, you don't get to see that unless it's time to change out every drop in the system.
Actually,
new in.
I think they just had an abundance of hydraulic fluid and not as much motor oil. So
Well, like I said, it would work, probably not quite as well. But all it is a dust trap.
yeah,
I mean, seriously, all it is a dust trap. So you could have used 1,000 different things um, on the combine. Dad would get um, the used oil from the air filters on the tractors and dip a sponge in it and just wipe down the air intake cage for the combine. It was basically just extruded metal. And then the actual air intake was way beneath that. But if you make the external parts of that pre-filter sort of thing really, really sticky, you don't have to spend as much money replenishing the actual air filters. They'll get a longer service life out of them. Old farmer's trick. Wipe down the air intake stack or pre-stack, and halfway through a work day, you just go out there with another wet sponge full of oil or whatever and wipe all the dust that's accumulated off of it, and keep an eye on your temperature gauge. Because if that gets coated so air can't get in, your engine is not happy. And when you've got a piece of machinery that's 14 feet tall and 16 feet wide, keeping the engine happy is a very important thing.
Night, Witsman dude.
Good night,
Oh,
Carl.
good night, Carl. Yeah, I went shopping today with Lindsay, so I don't think I'll have to go out tomorrow, except probably to the Golden Pantry and buy beer for tomorrow. I wanted to go to the recycling center in the landfill and take our garbage off today, but after Lindsay left to go to her meetings, I could not face going outside. It was just too damn cold. And I should be used to the cold that I faced in the factory for half a century. I've got the cold weather gear. It's just
It's a
now I'm
different kind of cold.
retired. Now that I'm retired, cold hurts more. I mean, yeah, maybe that's because I'm rapidly approaching 70,
Well,
but not that
also,
rapidly.
you do have a little bit of insulation with the walls at the manufacturing plant, whereas
You silly boy. No, it was an insulation factory. They never bothered to insulate the walls or the roof.
well, I'm talking about the exterior walls provide a little bit of
It was a windbreak.
yes.
It was a
Exactly.
windbreak. It
You
was
don't have
not
that
insulation. I have had nights in the factory that were actually 40 below zero, which is the same on Fahrenheit as it is in Celsius. That's the only point where those two temperature scales cross.
Mhm.
And usually by the time it gets that low, you wouldn't care if they were measured in Kelvin. It's just, no.
Yep.
Icicles become as hard as concrete, but shatter just as easily at that temperature.
Yeah, Dan. But still,
and
my
so do
point
people.
remains: you
Um,
don't have the windbreak outside that you did in the factory.
no. When I go out in the yard, there is no windbreak. Um, I am totally at the mercy of it. Thank God I've got the gear, but it's just
It also limits your range of motion and how much you can do when you've got all this gear that's kind of making it difficult to do,
yeah.
especially if you need
It's really
detail.
hard to. It's really hard to safely use power tools when you're wearing gloves and
Mm,
a, 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 a full well, pretty much an Iron Man mask, or
hmm
at the very least, a Deadpool mask,
hmm
trying to keep the wind off your face so that you don't get frostbite.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, tomorrow, 64 degrees. I got to get out there and get stuff done. I got to get power tools put away out of the rain. I've got them covered up, but I don't think that's good enough. I've got to get them in the shed.
Mm, yeah. I understand.
Mm. I'm going to have to go down the hall. Donna's in charge. Did
Yay!
you see the look of panic on everybody else's face?
I'm worried. It's gonna be fun having Donna in charge.
The lady in her harem.
Yep. Crocheted pickles.
Oh Lord.
Oh my
I'm not
goodness.
surprised.
Trey needs that pattern. It keeps seeing crochet things and going, yeah, that Trey needs that pattern.
Yeah. Be
Uh,
popular for a certain
not the green
show.
room. Yes, Chris?
It will be popular for a certain show in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
How will we forget the taco that hangs next to your microphone?
Not the green room.
I know it's not the green room, but
Yeah, but
if you see her on the screen and her microphone, it's right there
has
next
got a
to
big pickle next to it.
it.
Every taco deserves to have a big pickle next to it.
Yep.
Yeah. What are you flaring at, John?
Oh, I can't find a picture of that darn oil filter I was looking for.
It's
I keep
hiding from you.
Yep.
I keep seeing pictures of all these different Humvees, but I can't find one that's got the darn thing I'm looking for.
Maybe
A lot
you
of them have
should,
snorkels, though. That's kind of odd.
maybe you should look up World War II Jeeps.
Snorkels, like they're going scuba diving?
The the Humvee on the right side in front of the passenger, that's where the air intake is.
Mm-hmm.
You take that bell off. I told you to put the air filter on it.
Mm-hmm.
You take that bell off and you put a snorkel up that goes up to the top of the roof.
Yeah. I've seen Jeeps with those and some Toyotas.
All the Marine Corps Humvees have them because they need to wade ashore, in water. Most of the Army ones don't, but strangely enough, all the ones I was looking at in Iraq have them. So apparently, after I left, they started putting the snorkels on and putting some sort of oil air filter on top of the snorkel, which kind of makes sense because it keeps your air intake farther away from the ground.
Yeah,
And the
further away
tires.
from the dust.
Yeah.
And John Don's got a comment for you.
Thought John might have been looking for pictures of crocheted pickles next to tacos. Yeah, but he knows where the real deal's located, honey.
Ooh, the real dill.
Okay, well, I was giving credit. It might be a sweet gherkin.
Oh no, ick.
We don't know what Dawn's preferences are in the pickle department. She's never stated so in my hearing.
I will neither confirm nor deny any statement to that effect.
Well, I know she had a jar of garlic pickles, but that doesn't say whether they were sweet or dill.
It better have been dill.
Pickles! No, I wasn't even there. Oh, Lord.
Next year's Oracle is going to be even better than last.
Is there now a competition to see how quickly you can break the scribe? Oh,
It's real. There's two things that you can yell. One is pickles, and the other is tea turtles.
Tea turtles, okay.
Yeah,
I'll have to remember that one. I just
she
walked by
accidentally
and shouted into the door as I keep walking.
she accidentally sputtered that the first year we were down there. I think either that or it was the year before online, and Carl has never let her forget it.
Well, as Carl wouldn't.
Well, when you get such a great reaction.
And I can just see the wheels turning in behind Theseus's eyes. He's trying to figure out what tea turtles are.
Oh, good night, Foxy.
Oh, good night,
Good night,
Foxy.
Thank you for joining in and watching.
Yes, and pet the doggy for us.
Hope you feel better soon.
Yes, definitely. Let's see, what have we got here? Oh, okay, we still got plenty of time. Thankfully, I'm not monologuing alone tonight like I did a couple of weeks ago.
Nice guitar, Thesis. Looks like a Strat.
Oh, God, that's
Royal blue.
beautiful. Yeah.
What?
The blue guitar right behind Thesis on the couch
Oh, yeah.
next to the tea house sign.
You're muted. Thesis.
You muted yourself. We didn't hear you.
Yeah.
It's there just about every week, or at least most
No,
of the time.
I just happened to notice it because
that is definitely
reason.
a fender body. I do not know what neck is attached to it.
It is a Strat caster style, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And rosewood neck?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't see the pickups from here, but I would guess it's 2 pickups. I can see the whammy bar.
Yeah.
I can see the selector switch. I cannot make out the number of pickups.
There's at least 2, possibly 3.
And this is from someone who had a Gibson body with a fender neck, custom built. I didn't have it custom built. I just bought it that way. Single
That's
pickup?
why they called it mind
double
bender.
pickup.
They're single.
Yeah.
I saw at least there were 2 of them. So yeah.
But yeah, nice guitar, Thesis.
Yeah. It's about 2 years old now.
Yeah,
Mm.
I like the Stratocaster style.
Oh yeah,
Don't get me wrong, the Telecasters are nice, and believe
Mhm.
me, as much as I like Albert Collins, he was one of the so-called masters of the Telecasters. So
I've always been quite fond of the Music Master bass
hmm
because it had a shorter neck. The frets were closer together, so you could
hmm
actually move your fingers more easily to change notes. I've got a long neck acoustic bass
hmm
that is very difficult for me to adjust to. So it doesn't get used that often. It's a beautiful guitar, but because the frets are so far apart, it's very difficult for me to play the way that I did on the Music Master. And I've got to have the Music Master and the area six string
hmm
totally rewired inside.
Oh, sweet cuddle baby.
hmm
Yes.
she purring too.
I've had a couple of those around me all day, usually begging for food. I've gotten to the point where I have a little um box of well, what used to be a dispenser of just treats. I just filled it up with cat food, the dry food, and they come back here and they start clawing my leg, and I know they don't want attention. They're just too lazy to go to the kitchen and eat the food that's there for them to eat. And I'll pour out a bowl and set it on the floor. I can't tell you how many times Billy has knocked the bowl out of my hand, and I've just gotten
They've got you trained.
Sorry,
I have gotten really pissed off and said, "Eat it off the carpet, then." Uh,
I was thinking about one of my favorite all-time comic strips, just the single four-panel um, scene. Um, you're familiar with Mother Goose and Grim, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh
Now, Grammy's the dog,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this cat that's looking at it, and he's got this trepidatious look on it, like, and then she starts getting like she's gonna rub up against him. It's like, no, it's unnatural. And the next one, it's getting closer, just rubbing all over against it. He's like, no, it can't be. And then the last one's like, she purrs like a 52 Buick.
Ah, they do that to you.
yeah, they do.
Well, after almost 2.5 years of being inside, Charcoal decided just before Hallowcon that, okay, yeah, I can be a lap cat. And now
Mhm.
it's a competition between her and Calvi. And a lot of time, and if one of them's in my arms, the other one will come in and lay on top of the other one, so that I've got both cats there.
A cat stack. Uh,
Mm-hmm. And them,
they
A
get
catamaran.
warm in
A
just a few
catamaran.
minutes, don't they?
they get heavy because neither one of them's a little kitty cat.
Yeah, well,
A
this
catamaran.
this morning I woke up to both of them laying on top of my legs, keeping my legs warm.
Mm.
Nice little four-legged furball heaters.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Bachman just joined us.
Yay!
Hey, Joe.
Hey
Yay!
Joe.
Oh, how goes the pyrography?
He hasn't done
I haven't
that for
done
a
that in a
while.
while.
Taking a break doing the 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hmm. Well, I know that The intended recipient will be very, very happy because I've seen the work.
Well,
Nick
he got.
Nick should be highly pleased.
Oh, he is. He actually got some of them today. By the Board Games had their event going on today
Yeah.
down in Lowell, Indiana, and so we met up there. It was $5 to get in. You could play test games. You could play your own games.
Hmm.
So next year, Nick plans on working it and doing BSR.
Yeah, it should be fun.
So
I mean, I'm not even a gamer anymore. Just looking at it goes, that should be fun.
so I gave him the ones. Gave him the ones I had printed out, and now I got to print more.
Oh, this is interesting. Chatting with the Twitchers in the Furball channel, found out from one of the other viewers that is quite a bit from Dewey Rose. She said that wasn't far from Athens. Never heard of Dewey Rose, and I've lived in this area for since before man walked on the moon. That doesn't mean I know everything. And
Yeah,
maybe that
There's-
is in Athens that is in a different state.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It could be in Athens from a different state.
Because
Oh, there's a Dewey Rose in Georgia.
Yeah.
oh
Yep.
wow.
Sorry, I was chuckling, folks. Our artist of distinction from Hallowcon posted just a little under an hour ago. I got a spider bite. Said itched like a son of for half an hour and then stopped. He said he's not Spider-Man.
No.
Well, try again. Pick a different spider. The ones that glow in the dark work best.
I think he's a little disappointed. But
she is in Georgia.
Okay, cool.
Dewey Rose is northeast of Athens on looks like State Route 17
Okay.
between Bowman and Elberton.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I never go that way. Ilverton is a great historical city. It is one of those places where they have made a living of carving granite into monuments of all kinds.
Yeah.
Not just funerary, but they actually were the supplier for the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah.
And if they ever find that terrorist that blew up the Georgia Guidestones, I want to be on that jury. I really do. It might have been a questionable philosophy that was expressed by those, but it was from a different era than we are in now. And there was no reason to blow it up. And because of the damage, it became unsafe, and the entire monument has been demolished. I have been out there several times. I have availed myself after dark of the star sighting and whatnot that was planned into the stones themselves. Had holes drilled through it so you could see the North Star and a couple of other things. But, you know, it's neither here nor there. I could not agree with the stated philosophy because it sounded like a whole lot like, well, we're going to have to let a whole lot of people die to get this ideal civilization that we want to promote. And I'm going, Dude, that's been tried a few times in history, and it has never worked out very well for the perpetrators.
Apparently, Dewey Rose is a crossroad.
Oh, okay.
That's. I mean, they have a post office. They have a church. It looks like they've got a 150-year-old general store and a chicken farm. That's pretty much the entire.
The entire place.
Yeah, it's.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least if you go to the general store, you know you're going to get fresh eggs.
It says antiques.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That raises the prices. Is antique spelled with a Q? Because that
Yes.
doubles the prices.
hmm
Okay.
Always a friend of mine calls them anti-Qs.
hmm Believe me, around here, a regular antique shop is expensive enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they keep the yard mowed. Oh, and railroad crossing as well.
Yeah,
That makes
Was that
sense.
a tombstone?
I think that said Walt. Nope.
no.
Oh, okay.
Dude,
Well, it kind of is, but it isn't.
that is probably Elberton granite,
Mm-hmm.
and that is actually, it has been exported out of the country because the granite is that good, and the workmanship of the monuments they make is that good.
Well,
Here
if you
comes
go
the ambulance.
Let's see, ambulance look like a gas pipeline regulation thing off to the left, and
Whatever
the
that is.
building that probably
I believe
is,
it's also gas.
that's what I started to say, probably is also something to do, just protecting the pipeline
Okay.
switch
Gas
gear.
pipeline with a chimney. Yeah, that's it.
Hey,
guys,
you can't let them freeze.
I was just wondering if Joe Dog was there and they required an ambulance for somebody.
They had, yeah, and sufficient ventilation.
Yeah, you can tell how old this little place is here. I mean,
That is definitely antebellum. That seems to be.
Yeah, the wraparound porches were.
If
used to
that's
help
not Civil
cool,
War, that's 1920s.
or early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
Well, around here, nobody had money to build a house that big until the 20s, in between the mid 1800s.
It could have been a carpetbagger.
Well, that's true too. Says somebody who is classified as a damn Yankee. Wasn't born here. I moved here and I refused to leave.
I'm trying to remember what this style is called with the two chimneys and the two bedrooms and
Federal.
Oh, with the dormer windows.
yeah.
Even as a former architectural student, I couldn't tell you. I
Isn't
should
that
know
the
it.
Federal style? That's a bungalow.
Again, another house with two chimneys.
That's a bungalow, though.
Yeah.
Oop, wait a minute. Go right here for just a second. Yeah, that one looks fairly old too.
Well, it could be a fairly new cedar-sided log cabin. What interests me more is the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Tractor.
blue farm equipment. I bet I know what brand that is.
It's either Ford or New Holland. It might be an LS.
Ford.
Yeah. Well, unless it's a combine, in which case it's a Ford built in Germany, and sold under the brand KLASS Class, which is what we had.
Mhm.
That was a beast. Looks like a dentist office.
Yeah.
Chicken house.
Springer chickens.
Yep. Okay. I know a chicken house when I see one. I've had to clean plenty of them out. Church.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Fairly modern
Nice
one.
parking
That.
lot.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah, I was just looking at that myself.
a whole row of
Oh,
chicken houses
They
across
are
from
not
the
that.
church.
They are not that far removed from civilization.
Dollar General.
Yep.
Maybe brand
Now
new one
wait,
too.
Yeah.
wait a minute. Since
Oh.
when did Dollar General classify as civilization? I mean, since we landed robots on Mars, there's been at least 5 Dollar Generals open up there, and the Golden Pantry.
Shoot, I think our county's got close to a dozen now.
To give you an idea about how country they are, they have several businesses named after Skeeter. Okay. All right. Enough Google.
Nicely maintained lawns, I will
Yeah.
say.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody enjoys being on a riding mower.
Hey, John, could you pull up the St. Elmo area and the incline to let them look where the fire was that we talked about earlier?
Oh, they won't.
Lord.
It's not updated or anything, but I've been looking at it on WRCB. And matter of fact, it's there might be some new news. But where am I? Here we go.
Isn't the incline the world's steepest railway?
No. Was not anymore.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Donna?
think there's several in China that beat it out.
The little gray Ford tractor, was that an 8N
Yeah.
or a 9N
8N.
or well
They have blue
they
ones
made
and red
several
ones. too.
varieties.
Do you remember the old Roy Rogers show? And the
Yes,
little gray Ford that was on that show?
yes, but I still don't know what kind it is.
Well, that's the kind of that I learned how to drive on. Very first time, my dad said, "Get on it. It's in reverse. Back it over here." And I was so proud of myself because I knew how to stand down on the two brakes on the left side. I knew how to stand on the right side and hit that little button and let off the clutch ever so slowly. It went forward through the shed door.
It's because he told you it was in reverse and it wasn't.
Mhm.
That's the only reason I didn't get in trouble, because he got mad and started yelling. Mom says, "Don't you dare.
Yep.
Don't you dare. You told her it was in reverse."
Yep. You ever seen a farm all cub?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was my
I
grandfather's
still
old
cannot
tractor.
figure out how they hook up the bush hog to that. Wasn't that the one that specialized in the belly mower rather than the tow behind bush hog?
Yeah, there was a attachment on the rear you could hitch stuff up to. There was also his had a small side attachment because they had the offset steering and engine chassis, but his didn't have the two wheels and tires that were right there together. They extended out
Mm-hmm.
for wider
Yeah,
wheelbase.
that's much safer than the tricycle kind.
Well,
I know several people that have gotten killed on tricycle style tractors that they were
It was
Shall
fun.
we say they were driving sideways on the hill when they should have been going up and down?
It was fun using the crankshaft to because it had one of those handles that you could insert in the crank to start it that way.
Oh, good God.
I got
And
it.
it also had a electric ignition. You could pull a. It looked like one of those pins that was turned on its side, so you could crank it either way.
I got a nephew thanks to a tricycle tractor. We had two Olivers. One was the tricycle, one was the wide wheel, and one of them wasn't starting. My dad was in the hospital, so my brother took his wife out there, put her on one of them, and he got on the other, and had brought the one up to the front to push it backwards for some reason. And one of the tractors climbed up on top of the other. And according to my sister-in-law, when they went, they got off the tractors, went home, and consoled each other. And my nephew Troy was born 9 months later. Now coming from
Yeah,
Illinois,
No. I have a thought. I'm not saying it. And
coming from
Donna, you know exactly what thought it is.
I'm trying to ignore you. Coming from Illinois, everybody goes, "Oh yeah, you had John Deere tractors." I never even saw a John Deere tractor until I was a teenager. We had International Harvester. We had a
Massey
white.
Ferguson. Massey Ferguson.
I knew about them, but we didn't have one. And the Oliver tractors, the two Olivers, and then of course my baby Ford.
People take different journeys.
Let's see. There are a lot of
Uh-oh.
old Alice Chalmers around. Yeah, the railroad ties are on fire.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even have to see the close up, just the shape. Well, that's going to have to be rebuilt before it can be used again.
You know what else? The incline runs on a steel cable. There's a car at either end of the cable, and it loops at the top station. And it pulls the cars up and down opposite of each other. They're going to have to replace that cable, too.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no way it's going to take that kind of heat stress.
Hey,
No.
Donna, what about McCormick tractors? Did you have any of those around?
That was a little out of our pocketbook, but we did have some neighbors that had some.
What
Had
about
one.
Case tractors?
Case.
And
Neighbors had it.
Alice Chambers and
Yeah.
Chambers is the way it's spelled, but
They lifted they had some mandatory evacuations for houses up there, and they lifted the mandatory evacuation. And I'm wondering where the hell we got a firefighting helicopter.
People take different journeys.
Well, I'm wondering if the Forestry Service might have had one.
Oh, look at the rainbow. That's an interesting picture.
No, they must be updating. They kicked my video. That was TV9, by the way. WTVC.
And John, I'm glad you mentioned the white tractors. That brand is they also build the white Freightliner 18-wheelers. That brand is just about the strongest damn tractors you can get. I mean, horsepower wise, especially the ones with four-wheel drive and the frames are hinged in the middle. And I've never gotten to drive one. I haven't seen one in person, but I'm going. and I thought the Ford with the damn turbo was neat. That thing looks like it could pull down Stone Mountain without straining.
It depends. There's some tractors that are 200 plus horsepower.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, if
that-
you really want to know how good a tractor is, how much torque does it have? That's what pulls shit.
mhm. Now, Dad's biggest tractor was 190 horse.
Hmm.
It was a Ford. It was 9600.
That sounds about right.
Had a roll bar and a roof. Um, I mean, good Lord, this thing. The only thing we had that was stronger than that was the combine. And farm boy confession here, I could get anything stuck by trying to drive around the edge of a field and get into places where that's where the water was, and now it's just mud. That damn combine once pulled out the dump truck with 4 tons of soybeans in the bed of the dump truck and did not hesitate an instant. Just whoop. Yep, believe I'll be driving to Colbert now. Dad says, be careful. Well, he said be careful, but he said it in some rather colorful language that would probably embarrass several sailors of our acquaintance. But
If y'all get a chance, go to Stupid O'Clock and look at the guy with his Christmas tree at his house.
It's not Joe Dog, is it?
No, it is not.
so that's why the angel got up there.
No, it's hilarious.
If you haven't heard that story, I'm not going to tell it.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's hilarious. It's,
Sorry, I couldn't resist making that call.
House down the street here's got all their lights up, and they've got something that I just noticed last night, and I think it's supposed to be a candle. But they must have put it on a light pole out front.
It doesn't look like a candle to you, huh?
And it's got what might be a flame on top. No, it doesn't look like a candle from four
From
doors
street level?
down. No, I was on the second floor looking out my window. I'm like, well, you know me, you know what I thought it looked like.
I know exactly, yes, and I know why you're not saying it too.
Because it's not the green room.
That's right.
Yeah, well,
I try to be respectful to you, Dan. At least that's what I tell
that's
you.
a first. Not for you, but anybody.
She's talking about in public.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
in public, yeah. Because, Lindsay might watch this. My mother's got
these,
YouTube. She could.
these 12-foot high skeletons you can get in your yard for Halloween?
Mm-hmm.
Guy down the block from us has one out front, and he has a dog skeleton next to it, and the human skeleton is walking the dog skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he doesn't take it down for Christmas. He just puts a Santa hat on top of the skeleton and lights off of it. So
I
Yeah,
noticed
we've got a
when
house.
there's a veterinary clinic at the west end of the road that I live on, and they've had 2 of those 12-foot tall skeletons out there. They set them up for Halloween when they first opened, and now it's 3 years later. They have yet to take them down for any reason whatsoever.
I got another fur ball visiting me.
Oh,
Oh,
sweetie. we've got a house down on Vermilion Street that has the one tall one and then enough little skeletons that they make a scenario. Like last year, the big skeleton was a referee, and the little skeletons were playing basketball. And this is the first year that they've not taken them down after Halloween.
Mm.
And they've got the big one all dressed up, and then the little ones are sitting around him like they're listening to him tell us a Christmas tale or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know why the people at the vet clinic thought having a giant skeleton in the yard was cool, but
But it is.
well, apparently
What happens
so.
if you don't pay your bills?
Your dog gets repossessed by a demon,
I did want to briefly
and not one that
mention
lives in Aruba.
What,
Lewis
Chris?
Lee.
You didn't
He's-
think I was going to skip that one, did you, Thesis?
Hush, Dan. What'd you say about Lewis, Chris?
I said I did want to briefly mention to him he was giving a well, it reminds me of the Viking funeral. He's dumping his brother's ashes into the sea.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Mm.
So, yeah, he posted 4 hours ago, final farewell to my brother Roy today. He's scattering his ashes in the sea. I did want to mention him. He has been busy with life, but he has been a participant and a panelist on the Stupid O'Clock for many a time. So
Hmm.
Yeah, one
I
of the
miss
originals.
I miss his news segments because he really did have some good stories.
Yeah, miss him
Yeah.
too.
I sent him. I posted something for him today on Stupid O'Clock. Shows this admiral and a chief petty officer. They're sitting watching a naval exercise, and the admiral's going, "Damn it!" Says, "There's supposed to be 3 aircraft carriers in this exercise. I only see 2. Where's the 3rd aircraft carrier?" And the chief petty officer looks at the admiral and goes, "You're standing on it, sir."
Oh,
Always be aware of your territory.
Yeah, Lewis goes, "Yeah, about right."
but anyway, I wanted to mention that before I forgot. Just because you can't be on the panel all the time doesn't mean we don't think about you or forget about you.
That's true.
Who?
Yes.
Listen,
Now he's being a smart ass.
I know.
Yeah, we don't forget. We just give you your privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's working for the public school system now, so he probably can't be seen with
The
scurrious
likes of
scalawags like us.
Unsavory types.
Hey, I'm very
I can see him
savory.
getting called into HR.
I'm full of spices.
I can verify that. That's just like my bestie has a lot of kids on her Facebook. So when she finds stuff, she messages it to me, and then I'm the one that posts it in the secret humor group.
Oh, speaking of which, I posted a link to the Wikipedia page for Go to Fuck Asleep. And then right below it, I put the YouTube link for Samuel L. Jackson reading Go to Fuck Asleep.
Nice.
So just be warned, don't show it to your kids for Christmas. Unless you got those kind of kids.
My kids are old enough to see that shit.
It's described as a children's book for adults.
Yeah.
And apparently there are sequels.
Mhm.
Oh,
We'll have to
Um,
find those.
Apparently there's it's a 4-book set.
Okay.
And yeah, it's the same guy wrote 4 books, including Go to Fucking Sleep.
Donna, is this the one? Or did
What the one?
Yeah, they come in different colors.
I? Well, bugger it. There we go. I see it now.
Yep.
Yeah, they came in red, they came in gray and red, and they came in blue.
Yep. Mine was all gray.
Hey, Dan,
Yes.
she thinks your tractor's sexy.
That ain't the half of it.
Mm.
Um,
He
Well,
said bush hogging. You thought it involved shrubbery.
no, I didn't. I was keeping it all to myself. That's what I thought. Um,
You ever ride a hiker up to the hayloft?
nope. We didn't. We didn't have a hayloft. Our barn wasn't that tall. We just backed the dump truck full of hay in there and started throwing the bales off. And you know, a hay hook is a very useful tool,
Mm-hmm.
but it is one of those things that even dockyard workers respect as a very useful piece of equipment, especially during a strike. Um,
I had my yearly foot thing that I have to do since I'm diabetic, and I was telling the doctor, so I've got this one. I get this one sharp pain in this foot, and it's like a sharp pitchfork in it. She looks at me and she says, Why do I think that you actually know what it feels like to have a sharp pitchfork go in your foot? I'm like,
mhm.
yeah, want to
Me
see the
like
scar?
What you got there, John?
that.
Oh yeah.
That
Only
is
I was the size of the kid, and there wasn't an adult behind me. Uh,
Yeah.
I got
that
turned loose with the tractor and told, "Hey, drive this 3 miles down to the farm from this shed we rented to keep the tractor in."
that was a 1977 Massey Ferguson 230.
Mm. I do believe the first tractor Daddy ever bought was one of those red and gray 8N Fords, and that was the one that I learned to drive on because it was my job to take it from the shed to the farm so Dad could use it. He was driving the pickup truck because there ain't no way a 12-year-old's going to get away with driving a pickup truck, even in this county. You got to be at least 15. Well,
Not if you're on the back roads.
not if you don't get caught, but yeah. Um, I was one of those kids that was driving a dump truck a year before I could ever get my learner's permit for driving a car without a license, but with insurance. Um,
Well,
hey,
I hated
it's all down to experience. I mean, seriously,
I,
it's a learning experience.
I hated driving my grandfather's 65 Chevrolet stepside pickup. That thing was a beast without being one. It had one of those indestructible slant sixes, a three
Oh
on the
God,
tree,
yes.
and a manual transmission, a manual
Column shift
steering, and
manual. Yeah.
manual brakes. That you had to be a man to drive that damn truck.
Or at least be able to pull on the steering wheel to be able to push the pedals down.
Oh God! And it had a manual choke. That damn
Mm.
thing was
Oh
ornery.
Lord, yeah.
Fussy.
I remember that.
He drove that thing.
I remember the first time they ever put me in a diesel truck and then told me to shut it off. And I turned the switch off, the key. Truck kept going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there with my foot on the clutch. Parking brake pulled up where it wouldn't roll anywhere. Transmission in neutral, and I'm going, how the hell do I shut this thing off? And then I noticed the fuel shut off.
Yeah.
To pull that thing out from the dashboard. Nobody had ever told me that before.
Yep. And,
we didn't have a diesel tractor then. I hadn't learned that. We had a gas tractor. Turn the key off. That was it.
Yep.
Motor went dead. But no, here I am in a truck stacked almost 2 stories tall with the rectangular bales of hay, not the big round ones, because those weren't fashionable back then. And I'm going, how the hell do you turn this thing off?
Oh, it was fun, Dan.
Nobody told me.
We had to stack that thing full of hay, and it had an 8-foot wooden bed.
Mm.
Oh my God, that was a pain in the.
Oh, there was one year that Dad had the bright idea that we would bale the straw from when we combine the wheat. And he's going, hey, I know we're in Georgia, but we can drive this to Knoxville and sell the straw at a profit to a landscaping firm. So he put about 3 times as much as that truck was rated to haul on this dump truck, which got like 12 miles per gallon. And then we drove it for 5.5 hours to get from our house in Georgia to the landscaper in Tennessee. And actually made a tidy profit until Dad figured in how much gas we had to put in the truck to get it that far. He goes, I ain't doing this no more.
2-minute warning, Dan.
Oh, thank you.
Already?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, when I won't shut up, the show goes run through.
This just came in on my news feed, if y'all are interested. You know about the rebels moving through Syria? They launched a major offensive.
Okay.
The president of Syria has left Damascus.
Wow.
According to his senior army officers, and the Syrian rebels say they are in the capital. So we may be seeing Iran pulled all of their people out of Syria over the last 2 days. And a bunch of people from the Syrian army, individual units, have been going across the border into Iraq through the border checkpoints because they don't want to stay in Syria anymore.
Mm.
So apparently there may have been a big turnover, or might be going on right now.
Regime change. I'm guessing
if I had a rocket launcher.
I'm guessing that's Hafez el-Assad's son.
Probably. Let me see.
Yeah, I remember political cartoon.
And that's on Reuters. That's a real news agency. It ain't like any of these American agencies.
Yeah.
I remember the editorial cartoon.
It's not like it's Fox News.
Where somebody in the Middle East had their head on a platter and said, look, Assad, these concessions are getting a bit out of hand.
All
it's
right,
already
folks.
it's already early morning there, so
Yeah.
Time to say
We got-
goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, everybody. I enjoyed
we've
it.
done we've done 2 hours. Everybody wants to go to bed. I've got to get up early.
not necessarily
enough
with each other. Okay, but
Speak for yourself.
up. You take all the fun out of everything.
I said not necessarily. Just,
In any case, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Everybody that's here, everybody that's in the chat, everybody that is watching live or will watch on the replay later on. I'll have to remember to go and add this to the playlist. But
Yeah.
it's time for the bedtime story.
Go
So,
good, guys.
good night,
night, everyone.
Good night,
everybody.
folks.
Good night.
And once again, love you all. Thank you. And
Happy holiday.
we shall see you anon, which is not anonymously in your feeds, but another time. I'm getting really ancient with the language here, Daniel. Shut up.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.
Night.
Transmission overload. System will shut down. 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 System will shut down.
What are you still doing here? Go to bed. I mean, seriously, good night.